We got a good thing
Door, check.
going.
Window, check. Home security system, check. Like I'm forgetting something. Did you lock the front door? Yeah, I locked it. I closed the window this time.
All right, we are here. Hopefully. How we doing, everybody? Welcome to what was initially supposed to be Daytona 500 Sunday. I know that's not a big thing in the European side of the world, but over here in the States, this is supposed to be the best motor racing day of the year. And unfortunately, the terrible rainstorms making their way through the southeast at the moment means no 500, but what we do have is that of the JAG Sunday Series at Jeddah. I was actually at this track not long ago for CCRL, which was a fantastic race in its own right. So I'm really excited to be back here. Just waiting for the grid to get itself joined in here. How's everybody's day going? Shame I wasn't able to put together guitars race last week. Just problems with the upload, or not the upload, but the hard recording failed, and I wasn't live. I didn't have the ability to go live that day, unfortunately. So I am here now, and I'm here live. Where I don't really think they missed that much last week. I'm gonna be honest. It was a good race. It was a good race, but nothing to really shout home about necessarily. You know, it wasn't some sort of unbelievable last lap passing for the win. We do have Zench atop the table, though. I will say that. Zench has been on a roll so far this season. That much is true. Oh, goodness me, I'm so tired. Usually I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for this, but not today as it turns out. Let me get the track map up on my phone. I will need that. Hope everybody's having themselves a fantastic weekend here so far. Hope you enjoyed watching the Bathurst 12 hour. That was a fun one. The rain involved as well. It's funny, I didn't think rain would ever be an issue in Bathurst. Apparently, that was quite the ordeal they had to go through. How many people do we have in right now? I think I saw like 4, which is just fantastic news. 4 people watching at the moment. That's great. Hope the mic audio sounds okay. Typically, sometimes when we start here, it does get slightly distorted for some reason. Why that happens, I don't really know, but it does. Sidemen abandoned in Ireland challenge. Is that supposed what does that mean? Is that supposed to be difficult being abandoned in Ireland? I'd like to be abandoned in Ireland. Ireland seems like a great place to be abandoned in. I just read a thing today saying that the PlayStation is in like the latter stages of its life cycle, and I just bought this PS5 literally like 2 months ago, man. I'm so pissed. Voice chat suspended? Oh no, don't do that. Okay, 18 on the grid already? Goodness me. I gotta get these yawning out of my system before the race, man. I yawn during a race, it's just slightly rude. Let me tell you, most of the time we got some damn good racing here in the JAG Sunday Series. Oh, there's my hat. You know, I was looking for this beanie hat for probably 10 minutes this morning, which doesn't sound like a lot, but not really. A full 20 on the grid? Are you serious? That is, that is great. Goon and Banacklash on their way in here, although I'm not. Yeah, there we go. Everybody is in. And as we're about to hit the halfway through the 3 o'clock hour here on the East Coast. Love it when leagues get started on time, too. This is great. And it looks like we're about ready to start here. I think the lads are going to be getting themselves in the race here shortly. Hopefully a good one today. Place your comments now. Place your predictions. Subscribe, like if you'd like to. I don't know. Do whatever you'd like. Grab a popcorn. Grab some beer. I don't know. Do whatever you must. Pint of Guinness. We were just talking about Ireland not long ago. Hopefully this is going to be a good one here. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the third round of this JAG Sunday Series season, and it's taking place at the Jeddah Corniche Circuit here in Saudi Arabia, the world's fastest street circuit with over 70% of the lap being taken at full throttle. Hotspot on the call for you live once again this week on what should have been Daytona 500 weekend here in the United States, which, if it's any indication to you, if you're not really familiar with that in the European side of the world, what I will say is this: that is the equivalent of the probably Silverstone race weekend. And here in the United States, it's been rained out and it's been postponed until Monday. That is a huge, huge loss. But what we do have today is 20 drivers on the grid here looking to strut their stuff at one of the most difficult circuits in the realm of Formula One. That part is absolutely, for sure, hotspot on the call with you. Apologies for last week about the Qatar race not happening. It did happen. I did watch it. I did cast it. The system decided that it didn't want my hard recording, and I was not able to upload it as I wasn't live. So this week, the live stream will be broadcasted exclusively, not the live stream necessarily, but the qualifying session exclusively on the live stream here, and I'll just record the race in the hard recording. So if it does fail, we'll at least get something. 20 drivers on the grid tonight on the most difficult one of the most difficult tracks, but also one of the most fun tracks on the schedule nowadays. It looks as if our championship leader of Zench is actually going to be coming out behind. I recall the one time I did race here and I had migraines for hours afterwards, just of how high focused you have to be driving this circuit. It is so quick. It's quick, it's narrow, it's action-packed, and let me tell you something, it's definitely going to generate a few mistakes tonight, but someone who was mistake-free last time out was the Haas driver of Zench, who won the race, has gone back-to-back in the first two rounds after starting third on the grid last week, finds himself atop of the championship standings after his win. Reimer with 60 points. Reimer second at 37. He's actually tied with the Alpine of JAG Cheb at 37 points apiece. Jag Greg in fourth at 33. Maple Ace 32. Stims 24, Adonis 21, Bergen in P8 at 19, DWCJ 15, he's tied with Fear Luke, and that rounds out your top 10, with Banniclash just a point behind that. As far as the constructor standings are concerned, we have the Haas team atop the table. That's probably the first time anyone has ever said that in the form of motorsports. Haas team atop the table at 75 points, Alpine second at 70, Ferrari 56, Alfa Romeo, otherwise known as the Stakes nowadays, 40, Aston Martin 32, Red Bull 30, McLaren 19, AlphaTauri, otherwise known as VCarb, nowadays at 15, Williams at 12, and Mercedes at 3. So here we go here. Championship leader of Zench, going to be the first driver out on a timed lap tonight on this treacherous Jeddah Corniche circuit. Treacherous is probably the best way to describe it, has to be said. Makes his way in towards turn one. It's not a huge run into the first corner from the starting grid. It's actually one of the shortest runs down into a turn one in this season. The rest of this first sector, as he makes his way now in towards turn four, they've actually moved that barrier in a good couple of meters since the last time real life F1 visited this track. It's very much more narrow now. Through 5, 6, 7, and 8, eventually into 9 and 10. This is where Mick Schumacher had his huge off in the real life F1 season back in 2022. Making his way now into the banked hairpin corner, or sweeper corner, of turn 13. Very much a NASCAR-type corner now, which we're seeing more and more in real-life F1 in towards 16 and 17. Now one of the only hard-braking zones on this track. I say one of the only hard-braking zones. There is a couple of them. I would say turn 1 being the most heavy-braking zone, turn 27, and then up to turn 22 and 23, which we'll be at here shortly. As you can see, yep, he has gone along with it. I thought he actually had gone wide there. Making his way now into the spoon section. 25, 26, and 27 here. Jeez, this car is all over the place, it has to be said. I don't know, I'm hoping it's not my connection that's making that appear like that, but as DWCJ goes P1, 128, 359. That is a very solid first lap attempt, it has to be said. Next across the line is Zench, 128, 548, and the Alpine of Jag Chev, 127, 612. The current provisional pole time. Jagchev has had himself a really solid first couple of rounds of the season here so far, and that qualifying result at the moment would definitely back that up. 127.612 is a very, very good attempt. Maple Ace in the Aston Martin P2 is one of the Red Bull drivers. I believe it is that of Stims. P3 for Stims, about 0.3 of a second off of provisional pole at the moment. Not a bad attempt whatsoever. We do have Ronnie on an outlap here shortly. He'll be on his way around. We do also have Stefan making his way through turn 27, although it has to be said it doesn't appear that he's going to be getting this lap to completion here. Actually, maybe he will. It's not going to be one of the better attempts. It's going to be P7 for him, 129.452, who is getting onto the brink of low fuel and no battery as well. As you can see, his recharge light is on. Manny K has gone 6th, 128.561, not a bad attempt. Next up is the teammate of Baniklash, 128.521. He's gone 5th at the moment, and Reimer in the Ferrari. Who else but a 127.471, does put about a 10th and a half back to Jag Cheb. Reimer, if you know, the previous season champion, was looking for a good result to begin this season. Qatar was a much better round for him after taking 2nd place. He's here now, currently sitting on provisional pole with 12 and a half minutes to go. Still a lot of time left. We do have the Ferrari of Bergen, who I believe has just crossed the line and has gone 10th. Only, I'd say less than, less than a 10th ahead of Stefan at the moment. Next up is one of the Aston Martin drivers. I believe it's Idle North making his way around. And he's going to be coming into the pit lane here shortly. Is it now the Red Bull of Stefan? Well, he's making his way through Sector 2 on low fuel, so it wouldn't be him. The pair of Alfa Romeos up next. I believe it's going to be Ronnie K, one of the only drivers to yet complete a timed lap, and unfortunately he hasn't validated whatever attempt he was on. So, we're waiting for Ronnie K, we're waiting for the pair of Willies, Goon, Fear Luke, Jag Greg, and Algeri, the only drivers remaining, to not put together a timed lap. Jag Greg making his way on an out lap now. Fear Luke is actually going to be starting one here shortly. Actually, well, I lied. I thought he was on the turn 27 side of the track. He's actually making his way in behind Jag Greg here very shortly. Matter of fact, there's the Mercedes of Patterson. Currently resides P3, about 4/100ths of a second off of Jag Cheb for that 2nd spot. Not bad at all. And we're going to see the flooding of drivers on the way into the pit lane here. Manny K on the way in. Baniklash is going to be on the way in here. And we do have Bergen making his way through turn 27 now. Although I will say, Bergen appears to be on a better lap than what he was on before. Let's see if he comes to the line now and decides to improve. Across the line he goes. He does improve to P7, yeah, improves by 8.5 tenths, nearly 9 tenths of a second, up to a 128. That's not a bad lap at all for Bergen. Finds himself 9 1,000ths of a second, clear the McLaren of Baniklash at the moment. That is a very solid attempt from Bergen in a Ferrari partnership that has been largely dominated by Reimer so far this season. A good result for Bergen would mean the world. Coming up next, DWCJ on an out lap here in his Haas. Currently, one half of the duo leading the Constructors' Championship at the moment. We've got one of the Alfa Romeos coming through the final corner now. I believe it is Ronnie K. Coming to the line here. It's not going to be a bad lap. It's going to be P14. So that's a good way to get a time on the board, but he's going to need to do more than that. That's the bottom line. Peak Hour has just crossed the line. I believe he's gone P12. Has a lot of work to do, does the Alfa Romeo team. But what I will say is this. The fact that they have laps on the board now is going to be very helpful in case any of the remaining 6 drivers don't get a lap for whatever reason. You never know. I've seen crazier things. But here we go. The championship leader of Zench coming to the line here to start a timed attempt as he makes his way in towards turn 1. The 90-degree left-hander that immediately transitions to the right-hander of turn 2. It's a very fun one. When it comes to the race, it's a slow kind of combination of corners. Exits turn 3, uses all of the exit he possibly could. In through turn 4 now, just across the apex there, and he's gone slightly too wide. Somehow the lap hasn't been invalidated, but I think this one's going to be in the books for Zench, after what looked to be a good start of the lap, as all over here. If you were along with us last season, you'll remember Reimer losing the lead of the race, and losing the win, coming out of the final corner. Last season at Jeddah, taking 2nd place after a great race all day long for him. Unfortunately, he was just a bit short and could not win the Jeddah round last season. So he's looking for some vengeance today, that part's for sure. Jag Cheb appears to be on an out lap now. Let's go along with the Alpine as he makes his way through Sector 1. I believe we've just had the Alfa Romeo of Ronnie go P7 at the moment. 7 tenths of a second off the pace. Not a bad comeback lap at all, as unfortunately Jag Cheb invalidates going across the curb through turn 9 and 10. Next up to the line is the Aston Martin of Maple Ace. No, it's actually going to be that of Idle North. Who's going to be starting one here. There he goes. Next up, the Red Bull of Stims on an outlap here. Let's go along with the Red Bull of Stims as he's coming to the line now in towards the first corner. Let's see what he's got. open the telemetry for now. Heavy across the inside curb, barely uses the inside one at all. A little bit tentative getting back on the throttle, as you'll do exiting turn 2. That corner does tend to give you some oversteer here and there. Nicely does it through turn 4. You're just going to be careful on the throttle through these section of corners here. Back in the old version of the game, in the old version of Jeddah, you used to really have to only go about half throttle through that section. You can go flat now, about a gear higher than you need to be, and that'll do it. 0.2 of a second quicker for Stims at the moment. On a good lap so far, into the banked corner of turn 13. Very NASCAR-esque corner, which we're seeing a lot more of in F1 nowadays. These banked corners that'll allow you to go around the outside and carry more speed on exit rather than carrying it close to the apex and taking initially more time off. DRS going to be coming up here shortly as he makes his way through 18, 19, 20, 21, and eventually into the braking zone of 22. Braking now, does well, holds exit nicely, only goes down to 7th. Typically that braking zone is about 2 or 3 gear shifts. He's only gone down to 7th gear. Into the spoon section of the track now, 25, 26, and eventually 27. Top speed caps out at 206 miles an hour into the braking zone. If he holds exit well, which it looks he does, he may be on for a very good lap here, as crutting across the line he goes, and it's going to be an improvement of only about 8/100ths of a second for Stims. It's a lap that started off 2/10ths to the good. So P5 at the moment with 6 minutes and 40 seconds to go. He'll need more, but that's a good lap to start here from Stims, with probably 1 attempt remaining. Next up is the Ferrari of Reimer, coming across the line now. Oh, let's see how he does here. Reimer's looking for another good one again. He's looking for that vengeance that he needed last time in Jeddah. Remember, last season in JAG, he lost the lead coming out of the final corner, ended up finishing second to the Grand Prix, and he's looking for a good one today. And he's got some, well, I'd say clear track ahead of him. Maybe that Alfa Romeo ahead of Ronnie could have impeded him there. Not necessarily was Ronnie in the way, but as a driver, when you see a car slow on track like that, initially your brain is going to tell you to slow down and try to avoid. That may have hurt Reimer's lap. He is purple sector 1, however, for the time being, as he uses the wide line exiting turn 13. He's gone much wider than what we've seen so far, with about 5.5 minutes remaining here into the braking zone of 16 and eventually 17 on the way out. Does quite well. Currently provisional pole sitter. The next 3, actually the top 5, currently resides within 0.4 of a second of Reimer's pole time for the time being. Almost 0.3 of a second better through sector 2 and into the spoon curve now. Let's see if he's able to end this lap out on a high here. 206 miles an hour is one of the highest top speeds we've seen so far. What does Reimer get in the braking zone? It's going to be about 207 on the way into turn 27, and as he exits the corner, maybe a little tentative there getting back on the throttle. Not a lot of complaints though on my end. Across the line he goes, and it's a 1:27.055. Improves by 0.4 of a second. And, well, that is quite the testament there to Reimer's talent. He's now put a half a second behind a JAG Cheb. What we do know now is this. Maple Ace is on an outlap here. Maple Ace, one of those drivers who has a lot of talent, does slightly fly under the radar at some times. We'll have to see if he's able to get himself a good result here. I believe he currently does reside in the top 5 in the standings. We'll go ahead and confirm that for you here in a second, as I'm eventually going to pull up the championship standings here. Don't mind me. Currently, as it stands, well, that was the race last week in which Maple Ace did take P4 after starting 6th on the grid. Maple Ace does reside in 5th place at the moment. A point behind Jag Greg for 4th, about 5 points behind Reimer and Cheb for the 2nd spot. So Maple Ace in a good spot at the moment. He's looking to cement himself as a challenger for the top 3 here at the moment, but it does have to be said, unless Zench has a poor race today, he is beginning to show some dominance here. 60 points, 2 wins, back-to-back through the first 2 rounds of the season. And we'll have to wait and see if that level of dominance is going to continue. At the moment, he only sits P11, about a second and a half behind the leader at the moment. And speaking of Zench, to a timed lap he goes now. We'll go along with the championship leader as he makes his way into the first corner. 207 miles an hour into the first corner. That's his top speed. Exits a little bit slow. Coming out of turn 2, it's not bad. He's being careful. through turn 4. It does appear that he's being slightly tentative at the moment, but slow and steady does win the race here at Jeddah. You have to remain mistake-free, and that's going to be the biggest question, is who's going to remain mistake-free and win this Grand Prix today. Out of turn 11 and 12, into the hairpin at turn 13. It's a tenth and a half quicker so far for Zenshu. This time keeps it slightly closer to the inside, as opposed to what we saw Reimer's pull time, who really rode the outside wall. As it turns out, Zensch stays down to the inside through the braking zone at 16 and 17. Exits the corner nicely. DRS is going to be activated here in a minute. There it is. Next up, the braking zone at turn 22, one of the more difficult parts of this track, 4.5 tenths quicker through Sector 2. Looking a great lap so far, but still a lot of work to do. I'm wondering where he ranks on the top speed side of the equation with 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining here. As he's going to make his way in towards turn 27, he'll peak it at 207 miles an hour on the way in. Holds the exit very nicely. I would argue that was actually a better exit than Reimer's lap. And with 2 minutes to go here, Zensch to the line, and it's going to be 1:27.652, improves by 9 tenths of a second, and now moves within the top 3, but only 5 one-thousandths of a second better than Patterson, who for the time being stays in the pit lane, although is now on his way out. Jag Cheb making his way on an outlap here, currently resides second place. In fact, ahead of him is the Ferrari of Bergen, who at a currently resides a second and a half, although a lot of competition there in the midfield currently, especially from P8 down to that P14 of Goon. You have Marsbar on a outlap here. We've got Jag Greg looking to make his first timed attempt of the session so far. Jag Greg, who currently resides fourth in the standings, 4 points behind his Alpine teammate of Jag Cheb. He's going to be looking for a good lap here. Oh, and he's gone heavy over the outside curve, and there you can see he's, there's no other better way to put this. He's done a Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and he's done a 50-50 grind over the curb coming out of turn 8. And, well, apparently the lap is still going here. He's not invalidated, although he has gone quite wide off that curb. Very, very easy to get that car bottomed out going over the raised curbs through that sector, and that's exactly what's happened to Jag Greg. He's got, I think, some time left here. He's got 35 seconds. He's going to be cooking it back around here to see if he can get together at least one more attempt, but what we're going to see now is a lot of drivers back to the line. We have one of the two McLarens, I believe, is it Manny's on a timed lap now. Baniklash in towards the first couple of corners here as Zensch retires from the session, that being in the pit lane, so he has done all he can do. Patterson is going to be starting one here shortly with 10 seconds remaining. A lot of traffic ahead of him. This is crucial here because Patterson, as you can see, I believe the two Alfa Romeo drivers are trying to orchestrate some sort of tow here. And the Mercedes of Patterson is, well, there's no other way to put this. He's just in the way. It looks as if Jag Greg, unfortunately, did not get back to the line in time, is only P17. About 3.7 seconds off the pace. He was very, very close, as it looks as if, who was that around there? I was on with him momentarily. I couldn't quite see it. DWCJ on his way in. He's done. Next up, I believe, is the Williams of Marsbar, who's come across the line, has gone P13. The McLaren next up of Manny's gone P11. Baniklash making his way into turn 22 now. He's about a tenth and a half better. Next up is the Red Bull of Stims. To the line he goes, not looking a bad lap here. He'll go second. 1:27.555, improves by 2 3/4 tenths there. That's a mouthful, that one. Jag Cheb making his way through the spoon curve now. In front of him is the McLaren of Baniklash. Baniklash, who needs a couple of good results here. Across the line he goes, only 9th for the McLaren. To the line next up is Jag Cheb. Does he improve? Yes, he does. 1:27.405, improves by 0.2 of a second. And unless do any of the Alfa Romeos have any say of this, Ronnie is done with his lap. Next on through, Peak Hour making his way, who is invalidated as well. Algieri coming through the line here, one of the final drivers on a timed lap. Patterson is on his way in. He's done. Bergen, is he on a timed lap? No, he's invalidated as well. I think Algieri is the final driver on a timed lap here, who has also invalidated. So it is Reimer in the Ferrari on pole Here in Jeddah, Jag Cheb, a very good qualifying result for him. In second place, Stims in third, great for him. Zench, the championship leader, in fourth, who may need a little bit of work to do here. I don't want to say he's on the back foot, but he's got 3 very quick drivers ahead of him on a track that's so unforgiving. It might be very difficult for him coming into the race.
If you're visiting Jeddah for more than a race weekend, there's lots to see and do. Pay a visit to the world's tallest fountain, then visit the floating mosque, or head into the beautiful Silver Sands beach and take in the Red Sea.
So your starting grid then for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix here in the JAG Sunday Series. It's Reimer on pole by 3.5 tenths over Jag Cheb in second in the Alpine. Third is Stims, 5 tenths of a second behind. Fourth is Zench. Fifth is Patterson. Sixth is DWCJ. Seventh is Maple Ace. Eighth is Fear Luke. Ninth, Bannicklash. 10th, Ronnie. 11th is Manny K. 12th is Bergen. 13th, Mars Bar. 14th, Idle North. 15th, Goon. 16th is Stefan. 17th, Peak Hour. 18th, Greg. Unfortunately for Putin and Algeria, they did not get the chance to put together a timed lap. The top 9 drivers separated by a second here. Reimer doing good for now. Can he hold on? The championship leader of Zench has some work to do, and 3 incredibly quick drivers ahead of him on a track so unforgiving, where every single mistake will be scrutinized. The championship leader looking to go back to back to back through the first 3 rounds of the season. It's going to be a task for him today. But for the time being, Reimer in a good spot. Let's see if he can hold it during the race. And now just going to be waiting for the formation lap to start eventually. Now would be a good time to make your picks on who you think you'd win the race, who you think is going to win the race. In the comments, like, subscribe. Definitely support this channel as much as you can. I do love commentating here. Once again, I do sincerely apologize that last week's Qatar race wasn't able to get out. I wasn't able to live stream last week, and then the hard recording quit on me with 10 laps to go. Just very unfortunate set of circumstances there. I do not know what the cause was, but what I do know is this: I am live today, once again for the 3rd round of this season. So this weekend we had not only Bathurst 12-hour, which I watched, was very, very good racing, and we had rain as well during Bathurst, which is odd. I didn't think we'd really get that much rain. We were supposed to have the NASCAR Daytona 500 today. Unfortunately, it is raining quite heavily in Florida. They've moved it to Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, which is conveniently while I'm in work, of course, naturally. Formation lap getting underway here in Jeddah for the 3rd round of this JAG Sunday Series season. We take a look at the tires at the moment. It looks as if, once again, naturally as it will, the majority of people going on that medium tire. Crucially, Stims, the only driver out of the top 10, excluding that of Maple Ace, being on the hard tires. Everybody else on the mediums, Maple Ace on the softs. In fact, everybody down to P11, barring those 2 aforementioned drivers on the mediums there. Bergen the softs. Goon, Stefan, and Algieri all have chosen the hard tires. Now, let's say we do get a chaotic start here and we do get an early safety car. Those drivers on the hard tires may initially be at an advantage. After that, it's going to be very difficult to see if they're going to be able to hold on to their pace. The drivers on the softs, it is always a bold strategy for them. We'll have to wait and see if it does come to any fruition for those drivers. Obviously, the eyes are going to be on Zench here, the championship leader, looking to go back to back to back in wins for the first 3 rounds of the season. He's got 3 incredibly talented drivers ahead of him on a very tight track. Very little room for overtaking without the aid of DRS. It may come down to tire strategy tonight. It may just come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. In fact, I think that's going to be more accurate. Zench, I will say, has been pretty flawless so far this season. Did have a slight mishap in round number 1 at Bahrain. Spun out of the lead, came back from about P7 within the last 13 laps of the Grand Prix, and was able to win. Last week in Qatar was very flawless, has to be said. Lap 12 to 16 for medium to hards. That's going to be interesting to look out for there, and I think soft to hards was going to be a little bit less than that, probably around the 10 lap mark, as we see the grid forming up here under the night sky in Jeddah at the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia, which should be another very entertaining edition of the JAG Sunday Series. Jag Chev, look how far to the inside he is lined up, pointing that right front tire directly along the front wing of Reimer's Ferrari there. Cool, he's going out for blood there, you could see. Stims is going to have an interesting one here. He'll have to try to look for safety around the outside. Zench may be able to poke his head down to the inside of Jag Chev if something goes on there. Oh, it's going to be very, very close. It looks as if Marsbar and Goon, neither of them able to get the car back to the grid correctly. Lights turning on here shortly in Jeddah for the third round of the season. 4 lights, 5 lights, and they are off. Now, who got the better start here? Jag Chev, remember, was pointed way to the inside of Reimer. It looks as if he's going to be very close. Does he get to the inside of the Ferrari? He does! Contact being made there slightly. They're going to be very close behind. Zench and Stims side by side coming out of turn number 3. Yellow flag at the back. I believe at least 3 cars have gone around. Bannicklash, Idle North, and Stefan all going around there. Patterson has gotten around Stims for the time being. I think Stims got caught up trying to battle Zench. And then, as we've just seen behind, DWCJ has rode the curb. He's bottomed down on the curb going through turns 8 and 9. That car losing positions left and right now, as we do have Jag Chev down to the inside of Reimer for the lead of the Grand Prix here. It's less than 2/10 of a second between the top 2 at the moment, as Zench has had a great start in being able to challenge Stims for the position. And now the top 3 all very close to each other here, looking to set up a very good run out of turn 16 and 17 down the, I'd say the straight here. It's not necessarily straight. It's going to depend on their exits out of turn 22, but let's see what happens here. Chev doing his best to stay within line of Reimer for the time being. Patterson is in on this as well, although slightly further behind. His Bannicklash is retired. That's at the back of the grid there. On the way through, we may get a safety car for that, and he's right in the middle of the circuit there. That's the McLaren of Bannicklash off in the middle of the track there. As they make their way out of 27, Reimer's got a 6/10 of a second gap here as he leads Chev, Zench, Patterson, and eventually Stims and Maple Ace behind, as Maple Ace on his soft tires gets to the inside of Stims and takes the 5th spot. Unfortunate for Bannicklash, who already does not find the end of the Grand Prix here. It looks as if the McLaren of Manny K in as well. It looks like they've had some sort of error there, perhaps, probably a front wing being changed. And yes, it is. So the top 5 making their way through the first sector. Now it looks as if there was a mistake going on there. Goon and Algieri at the moment, they were side by side temporarily. I think was Algieri kind of not necessarily forced out, but was he just shuffled back there? That's probably going to be my guess, as currently for the time being, Goon has had that spot. Ronnie and Fear Luke side by side. Greg getting around Bergen on their way into turn 13. And that's Fear Luke around, and this is exiting turn 13, right in the middle of the circuits. And I believe the Ferrari of Bergen really did just run over that front wing there. That could be a puncture eventually for Bergen. He's completely ran over the remaining bits of front wing. That we're going to have to keep an eye on that one. That part's for sure. Maple Ace here, 2/10 of a second behind Patterson. This is going to be for the 4th spot. Now, Maple Ace initially did get around Patterson. It looks as if the Mercedes was able to strike back at some point here. So Maple Ace now, with his soft tires, does he have any advantage on the Mercedes? No, not for the time being. Reimer still has 4.5 tenths of a second here ahead of the Alpine of Jag Cheb, who now sets the fastest lap. Zench in behind as well. Maple Ace down to the, well, he's actually trying to go around the outside of Patterson. Patterson goes deep into the braking zone here. Maple Ace is going to be able to try to sneak back down the inside. No, he wasn't. It was a good look, but not quite close enough to making it happen. The top three at the moment separated by less than a second here. Well, I say that, it's immediately outside of a second, but for the time being, Reimer is starting to pull away from Jag Cheb. But once DRS comes in play, that may go absolutely the other way as Reimer punching the hole in the air ahead for the two drivers behind immediately. I'm thinking Zench might be in a great spot here to try to overtake at least Cheb, because Cheb being 8.5 tenths off Reimer and Zench only being 6.5 tenths off Cheb. That's going to go well for the Haas. For the time being, Maple Ace still trying to get around Patterson here. Might be getting slightly frustrated. He knows his soft tires are going to be wearing away as around the right side he goes, and finally gets the spot. And DRS to boot as well, as he was behind in the detection zone, and now will get the spot into turn 22. Ronnie getting around Stims on their way into turn 22. It's a kind of a gutsy place to make something happen, and he has. Very nicely done. Patterson still within 0.2 of a second here. He's going to look for the inside. Oh, I tell you what, he very might just. There he is. Oh, does he look for the inside? No, he does get into the back of Maple Ace, and Patterson hits the inside wall. That may have to be a front wing change there for the Mercedes, as he did really get into the apex wall through turn 27. Cheb with the fastest lap once more, as Ronnie, the Alfa Romeo, getting around Patterson now, after Patterson's little mishap going through 27, side by side, and into the left-hand side pod of Ronnie, result in Patterson spinning away from that battle again, now residing P8 after a great start that he did have, is unfortunately dropping down the grid rather quickly. Algerian DWCJ side by side. Really, really tough racing here. Around the outside is going to have to go the Haas through turn 4. That may result in carnage, and it does! And unfortunately, DWCJ could not afford any more room to Algeri there on the left side, and the Mercedes goes careening into the wall after clipping the left-hand tire of the Haas in question, and the virtual safety car is on track. And that's going to provide a temporary break in the action there, as now Reimer resides 1.2 seconds ahead of Cheb. Zench is also now without outside of DRS range on Cheb, although I think he's going to get it back here once we go back to green. For the positions gained and lost, Marsbar up 6, Greg up 9. Algeri up 7 in his own right, but I think he may have to come in here very shortly. After his collisions on that previous lap. I'm thinking he's going to have to stop here within this next go-round. Still the virtual safety car on track. For the time being, Reimer leads. He's led since the off so far. He didn't really have much of a challenge from Cheb. It was very close initially off the start, but Reimer had more grip to the inside of turn 2 and was able to pull away on the opening start there. And since then, he has kept the lead, and I'm actually a little surprised DRS has not helped Jag Cheb more in trying to hunt down the Ferrari ahead. Zench was able to get away from Stims very well there in the early going. Stims did not have a good start, although thankfully for him, he hasn't simply hit anything. Patterson drive-through penalty. Algeri 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. Several penalties being picked up there. Patterson, Greg, Steffen, all with drive-throughs. Algeri retires again. I believe this is now the 3rd race in a row, or at least 3rd out of 4 races he's had to retire. Unfortunate for him. So that will claim 2 drivers so far. Marsbar round the outside of Stims here, going through turn 13. Uses the outside NASCAR-type line there, and he does get the position, at least for now, over Stims. Great overtake, as Stims might be in trouble here. With Patterson behind now, Patterson has to go quick. He has the drive-through penalty. Greg as well, Steffen as well. After the virtual safety car, the top 5 separated by a good, what are we looking at here? Probably 5 seconds. Yeah, there we go. As it turns out, the closest battle on track is this 3-car little skirmish here, which involves Stims, Patterson, and Greg, 2 of which having the drive-through penalties. Which one gets away first? It looks as if Greg behind there. Stims did drop back slightly to the inside now. Marsbar, I don't know what's happened with him, but he's lost the position to Patterson, nearly lost it to Stims as well, and that had to cause Greg to check up there. That one almost got really weird there, as Greg's going to go around the outside of of stims here as Patterson comes in to serve his drive-through. We do now have 0.5 of a second for the lead of the Grand Prix between Reimer and Cheb as they make their way through the first sector S's here. A lot going on here in the early going, that part's for sure. It looks as if we've got Stefan and Patterson in, both to serve their drive-throughs. Perhaps, I thought that was one of the Williams on their way in. No, it's not. Perhaps is it the McLaren now if Manny K is going to get out ahead of Stefan. Yeah, it's going to be a close call. Might be a little bit short. No, he will. Manny K does get around Stefan then. 0.4 of a second here. Starting to close as well. This is the kind of best pace we've seen out of Cheb so far. He had a slight break in the action there, caught his breath, and now looking like he's on a good path to try to overtake Reimer here. Into now turn 22. Whoever gets away well, that's going to have to set up the DRS through the spoon curve. And for the time being, Reimer did get away significantly better than Cheb, at least 0.4 of a second better coming out of the 22 braking zone. And he's going to be safe from the overtaking Alpine behind, at least for now, as it looks like Goon has retired. That being on track, that is going through. That's coming out of turns 9 and 10, and that is very similar to where Mick Schumacher had his accident in 2022, and that will require the safety car on track. Reimer stays out, Zench stays out, Cheb on his way in, as well as Maple Ace, Ronnie, Greg, Marsbar, who's, Greg's going to have to serve a drive-through here, I think. Unless, does it let him stop? No, so he will have to serve that drive-through, thankfully, at least for him. Will he be able to do it under safety car? I'm not quite sure. But the drive-through penalty there is still for Greg. Marsbar getting hard tires there. Ronnie, I believe, choosing the hards as well. Ronnie's actually chosen the softs. That's a little bold. The slew of drivers about to pit here in a minute, so we've lost 3 here in the opening 7 laps of the Grand Prix. Stefan stays out. DWCJ has only just pit for the mediums very shortly ago. Patterson has chosen the hards. It looks like Puddin's going to choose the hards here as well. Manny K with the hards. And I'm just going to be interested to see what the top 3 decide. I'm not entirely sure that they meant to stay out on track, at least Reimer and Zench. Were they already past the entry to the pit lane? That's going to be my question. That being when the safety car came out. If that's the case, we'll see Reimer and Zench stop this time by. Unless it was a planned no stop there from the 2. This is an interesting development here, as we now have several drivers catch up here to the safety car queue. Reimer has led since the off. He's done very well. I think got maybe saved by the safety car there ever so slightly, as Cheb was showing some real pace. We now have Marsbar and Ronnie swapping positions there for whatever reason. Let's see if they decide to come in here. And it looks as if they're both going to stay out. Yes, they do. Take the moment to stop the hard recording, and now we are waiting for the safety car to subside here. I'm assuming Goon just hit way too much of the outside curb coming off of turns 9 and 10. Bet you he went through the corner, car rode on the curb, either that or he had oversteer coming off of it, and that car hooked violently to the left. Ended up in the barriers on the inside. And we are down to 17. A little surprised Reimer and Zench staying out as long as they are. Kind of feels as if that may be a mistake. I don't know. It's tough to tell. Because the rest of the grid are going to be on the hards. Those mediums are still going to be, relatively competitive here for the next couple of laps. They are going to eventually start to fall off. Again, that recommended pit window for the mediums was around lap 15. Or around 13 to 15, somewhere around there. I used to go in, on my own time and take accurate notes of the tires, but I kind of like the mysteriousness of not knowing, if I'm honest. But assume the safety car is going to stay out for one more lap here as we have the Aston Martin of Idle North making their way back round through into Sector 2 now. Yep. Looks like Ronnie's back on the way in. Oh, he's got a 5-second for speeding to the pit lane as well. Well, I see what he wanted to do was use that lap on the softs. That's his use of the required compound. He's now going to put an additional set of softs on. It's an interesting turn of events there. I kind of thought what he was going to do. He was going to go medium, soft, medium there. Use the do the one required lap on the additional compound. Instead, he's gone in and put on an additional set of softs. That's a little bit of an odd turn of events there, but what's even more odd, I think, Reimer and Zench having multiple opportunities to pit here and just choosing not to, which doesn't sit well with me. They're going to be on the off strategy now. I think everybody on the hards can probably go to the end of the race here, unless there's another safety car in which they'll probably pit in. But these two guys still need to pit. As a matter of fact, I think they are the only two on track who have yet to pit. No, they're actually one of four. So the top three and Stefan yet to pit here. Remember, Jag Greg still has yet to serve that drive-through penalty he picked up for speeding during the virtual safety car. Ronnie's just picked up 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane on this latest stop. As we're most likely going to get the safety car in this time by. The safety car is going to be in this time by. Remember, Reimer and Zench still have yet to stop here, as well as the pair of Red Bull drivers, Stims, in that battle as well, and Stefan. Everybody else has made the stop, mostly for the hard tires. I think a couple have taken the mediums. DWCJ had pit before the safety car, as well as Fear Luke, I believe. Peak Hour and Ronnie, both of the Alfa Romeo drivers, pitting for the mediums and the softs respectively. Idle North pit for the mediums as well. Everybody else has chosen the hards. So, Reimer and Zench here, the top two cars, going to be on a slightly odd strategy here, considering the rest of the grid is going to be better off once they kind of get going here. I would assume, for the time being, those on the mediums are still going to have better pace. But as we go back to green flag racing here, it looks as if Reimer's not necessarily gotten the best get. Goodness me, you see the Haas of DWCJ in the background. That was a bit of sliding about there, internet-wise. It looks as if, for the time being, that Reimer still has good pace on these medium tires. But I'm just wondering, as Jag Cheb behind, to the inside of Stims through 4, well, that's interesting there. So Stims losing position to both Maple Ace and Jag Cheb. My question is this: Cheb has gone down the inside. Has he, made the advantage going off track there? As Stims going off track himself, going through 8 and 9. But my question is this: is Marsbar down the inside now? Greg doing the same. So Stims losing positions left and right here off the start, as now Bergen to the inside. Nearly a collision there with the Ferrari. Well, the question was going to be initially this: oh, as we've got several cars, and apparently the question isn't important enough, because now DWCJ off at the back in his front wing in a couple of pieces there. Well, the question I was going to try to say, as I've been slightly interrupted a couple of times there, has Jag Cheb, in trying to overtake Stims, now he was to the inside going through turn 4, on exit of the corner, he went off track. Could they classify that as leaving the track and gaining an advantage? That's going to be a big question for the stewards later on. As far as my opinion on that, I don't think he's done anything wrong. He's had the Red Bull to the outside, so naturally he's got the car there. But how does that hinder him for staying within track limits? That's going to be my question. Interesting what's going on here. Jag Greg, who's going in to serve his his drive-through penalty, has now picked up a 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. The Alfa Romeo was going slightly slow there, coming off at turn 27. I wonder if something has happened with him. As the tail end of the grid here, very close together. DWCJ on his way in for the wing change that he needs. The top 5 separated by only about 2.5 seconds here, 3 seconds. And this is kind of the worry that I was talking about. The top 2 who still reside on the medium tires have kind of failed to really take off from the grid here. I'm thinking the hard tires may be the preferred compound to be on, as here Luke gets down to the inside unfooted by the time they get into turn 13, as he was able to go down the inside and make that spot happen. Very nicely done. The Williams still within a couple of tenths there, so we'll check back with that in a minute. No DRS yet. That'll come perhaps next lap, maybe the lap after that. I forget the rule with as far as DRS after the safety car. I think Reimer, now that was either a glitch on my screen or he had just hit the wall trying to take as much of the corner through 24 as he could have. Interesting there. That could have gotten close. What we do see now is Maple Ace trying his best to get around Jag Cheb here. Down the pit straight they go. Marsbar in pursuit as well. DRS is going to be activated now. They'll have that exiting turn 19, going through sector 2. Marsbar with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. Getting closer to 10 laps to go here. In fact, this next time by is going to be the halfway mark, as Patterson picks up 3 seconds for corner cutting. I believe that was going through turn 1 and 2. Perhaps he had help from behind, and that's why he did go across the corner. You always have to think about that sort of possibility there. Zench has not had a good go through the Sector 1 S's so far. Now finds Jag Cheb down to the inside. On their way in towards turn 13, does the overtake get made from Jag Cheb ahead? Maple Ace in pursuit here, looking to capitalize on any mistake made by the top 2, by the 2 currently in this battle ahead of him. Meanwhile, Reimer now out to almost a 1.5 second advantage over the 2 cars battling behind. Maple Ace gets to a much better exit at turn 17 there. He doesn't have DRS yet, but he's already getting around both Cheb and Zench. And Maple Ace, second place. As now we've got the Williams of Marsbar entering the fray as well. So Zench and Jag Cheb as they battle, coming off of turn 17, it hurts both of their progress as they were overtaken by the Aston Martin of Maple Ace. Cheb now looking to the inside of Zench, nothing there. Reimer, the race leader, on the way in. Oh, did you see that? He's hit the outside wall on the way into the pit lane. I don't know what's happened there, as Cheb and Zench side by side in the first corner, as Cheb goes down the inside and gets the spot. Marsbar wants it as well, along the left side. Contact there with the Haas. It's going to be into turn 4 again with these 2. Oh, and tell you what, Marsbar did get away well there, and he was able to get the spot. So Zench, I would say, firmly on the back foot now. He's on the off-compounded tires. And oh, Marsbar, we have a safety car on track. For what, I don't really know. But Marsbar going bottoming out across the curb, going through turns 8 and 9 there. Any spot that he initially had from Zench, I think he lost. Although was Marsbar ahead when the safety car came out? Of course he did go off track, but could he be entitled to that position is my question. Not entirely sure. What I do know is this Reimer, who's just pit, and, well, he's at the tail end of the grid, but in reality, if we see anybody else pit here, he may not be all that bad off. Maple Ace, who I believe is already pit for the hard tires. Yes, he had. I believe we're only waiting for Stefan and Zench, the only 2 remaining drivers yet to pit here, as the safety car on track. halfway through the Grand Prix. What do they decide to do here? Maple Ace is on his way in. Jag Cheb stays out. Zench on his way in as well. Marsbar now on his way in. I think Bergen on his way in as well. Patterson stayed out. Oh, and I can see why now. We got the safety car. The front wing of the Alfa Romeo of Ronnie is, it's just gone. It's not there anymore. He's on his way into the pit lane here to get that new front wing. And it looks like a Stefan 5-second penalty for speeding to the pit lane. Here's Ronnie serving his 5-second penalty. I believe is that another pair of softs, another set of softs going on to the Alfa Romeo here in addition to the front wing. Yes, it is. Bold decision there. This is going to promote Reimer back up to probably 7th here. Yes, it is. Reimer's done okay there. He's still P7. On now the hard tires as the majority of drivers behind him now choose the softs. What do Cheb and Patterson decide to do here? That's going to be a big question. I assume Patterson's... Well, no, he's got the 3-second for track limits. He can't get that taken off in a pit stop, so he's going to probably stay out here. He'll probably be... I don't know. It's tough. Could he be good to the end of the Grand Prix? Now considering that peak hour, Maple Ace on the mediums behind him, Zench has chosen the hards. That's a little bit of a bold strategy there, although he did have to fit a different compound, and I'm thinking maybe as he started the race on the mediums, did he think the softs wouldn't be able to go to the end, and that's why he's chosen the hards. Everybody else behind that did stop for the soft tires have already fulfilled that requirement that you fit in the 2 different compounds. We'll get a little bit of a good bonus here being under safety car for a couple of laps. That's going to help, as well as those drivers with the medium tires. Going to be coming within 10 laps to go here. Not this time by, but the next one. Second safety car of the day. We've had 2 safety car and a virtual safety car to boot. We've lost 3 drivers, that being Goon, Algieri, and Baniklash. Peak Hour's in an interesting position here. He is probably on better tires than the 2 drivers ahead of him. I don't think he's on better tires than Maple Ace. That Aston Martin, right now, you have to believe, and is a very good spot. I think anybody on the softs, Manny K, Pure Luke, Ronnie, Jag, Greg, I think that's going to help them for now as DWCJ 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. That's going to help them for now. But I don't know. There's still a lot of racing left, and we don't really know much about the softs if they can go that 10 laps. Although assuming DWCJ doesn't get himself caught back up here, we might see the safety car stay out for 1 more lap. I hope that's not the case. But as DWCJ makes his way out now on what appears to be used hard tires. Interesting. Jag Cheb leads the Grand Prix here. Next time by, we'll have 10 laps to go. Drop your comments now. Who you think's going to win the race? Like, subscribe. Well, I would like that. Yeah, that would be nice. But anyways. Be sure to share this video with your friends as well. That would be very nice. This league deserves all the exposure it gets and more. So I tell you what, the racing is absolutely brilliant. So if you enjoy this broadcast today, be sure to share it amongst the platforms and amongst your friends who enjoy the motor racing themselves. It does appear, this is what I was hoping wasn't going to happen, but it appears we're going to have the safety car out on track for 1 more lap as it waits for DWCJ to catch itself back up here, unless it makes the very late decision to come in now, which I don't think is going to happen. So we're going to have the safety car 1 more lap here. Next time by, when we take the green flag, will be 9 laps to go in the third round of the season. Just a quick heads up, the upcoming schedule goes like this. I gotta find it first. There we go, race calendar. So, this week in Saudi Arabia, the third round, round 4 in China at the Shanghai circuit. That should be a fun one. Albert Park in Australia for round 5. We do have a reverse sprint event in Belgium for round 6. And round 7 being in Spain at the Barcelona-Catalunya circuit, which I think is probably going to get replaced by Madrid, unfortunately, but have your reservations for that as you will. Tell you what, Barcelona's put together some great races in these past couple of seasons. I'm actually a little upset that we're not going to see Barcelona past 2026. Go on, Cheb, don't bin it. Well, I tell you what, Cheb is in a very difficult spot here. That part is for sure. He's on the hard tires. He'll have, I don't think, any problem going to the end here. But unless he gets away super well, yeah, I tell you what, I don't want to say the win's out the window. Points, a good points haul for Cheb is still very much in play. Let's get that clear. Zench, the championship leader, who won the first 2 rounds back-to-back, currently resides 5th on the off-compound tires. Remember, he was on the mediums until this safety car here. And speaking of safety car, I believe it's going to be in this time by. Yeah, there it is. Safety car in this lap. We'll have 9 laps to go once the Aston Martin makes its way in. Again, Cheb and Patterson here. Patterson's got 3 seconds for exceeding track limits, or I think it was corner cutting, actually. So that was probably at turn 1. Stefan, I believe, at 5 seconds here. DWCJ at 5 seconds. There's a look at the tires. Maple Ace, probably in the best spot here when it comes towards the end of the race. Everybody on the softs is going to have good pace here in the beginning, but could they fall off before the end of the Grand Prix? That's going to be the question. Jag Cheb exiting turn 27. Down the pit straight he goes, and we're back to green flag racing. He's gotten ahead of Patterson quite well here, 0.5 of a second early. Here goes Maple Ace, trying to find the right side on peak hour, on the way into the first corner. Down to the inside of turn 2. He's going to have to really park it on the apex, and he does, and he's able to get the spot. Maple Ace, oh, and that's a huge crash behind! Well, that was a massive accident there between, I believe, Zench and Peak Hour. Peak Hour was to the inside, and the virtual safety car on track. Peak Hour was on the outside, coming off of turn 2 and 3. Unfortunately, as they tried to make their way through the rest of Sector 1, that Alfa Romeo got hooked clean into the fence on the right-hand side. Both drivers running out of room, and I'm a little surprised that car is still drivable. That was a hell of an impact. Now you can see he is very struggling, and the full safety car out now. And this may be the call for Cheb and Patterson to come in. Oh man, that is a wild turn of events there, and I'm sure the stewards are going to have an interesting discussion about that one there. There's a very similar incident with that, and I believe, was it Stims and, could have been DWCJ earlier in the race, where they were making their way through that same kind of section of the track, and the driver's just simply running out of room. And now here, Jag Cheb, does he decide to stay out, or does he decide to come in? It looks as if Cheb is going to stay out. Patterson stays out as well. The only driver on the way in is Reimer. That is a bold call. Zench on the way in as well. I believe he's going to have to replace a front wing. Looks like Reimer has just had to fit, I believe, mediums here. Zench on the way in, front wing being replaced. I think Reimer's actually gone to the softs. What was a very impressive first 2 rounds of the season, going back-to-back in the win column, suddenly appears like it's not going to be followed up here. Reimer has gone to the softs. Most everybody else has decided to stay out. So that'll mean now Cheb and Patterson will be firmly on the back foot here with 11-lap-old hard tires. They're going to be bailed out for now, but those on the quicker compounds behind them, specifically Maple Ace, Marsbar, Bergen, Fear Luke, Manny K as well, going to have these slower laps under the safety car. That's only going to extend those drivers' tire lives. Very interesting dilemma to be had there. I would assume we're going to get the safety car in either this lap or the next. I'm hoping it's this lap so we can get as much on-track racing as we can. It looks as if it's going to stay out. Luke and Bergen swapping positions there for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure. Interesting for Cheb here. Kind of, well, he's doing his best to drop back from the safety car there in the pit straight, but he'd be having to conserve fuel. Would be very unfortunate, but I've seen that sort of thing happen. So this time by, we'll have 6 laps of racing left. Cheb and Patterson, the top two. Patterson on 3 seconds for corner cutting. Stefan on 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a slurry of steward reports later on tonight. Thank you once again this week for inviting me into your home and onto your phones. Been a very interesting and exciting race we've had so far. No, well, what do you expect here in JAG? That's the only sort of thing you'll ever get is good racing. What a season we have in store for you, and what a hopefully great end to this Grand Prix we have today as well. Safety car in this lap. The question now, how well does Cheb hold on? How well does Patterson hold on? Can Maple Ace get around them both? Can Maple Ace stay ahead of the drivers behind, not also on the medium tires, and then the drivers behind them on the softs? My vote for driver of the day currently belongs to the Williams of Puddin, up 11 positions for the time being. And here we go. 6 laps to go this time by. Jag Cheb punches the loud pedal. And across the line they go. Green flag back in the air. Patterson under heavy pursuit. Trying to find the right-hand side. Does he have it into turn 1? No. Cheb's going to have to break the Mercedes here, and he will. Patterson stays in pursuit. Maple Ace was not necessarily able to capitalize on the start there, although he's now within a quarter of a second on Patterson. He has a lot of work to do here. Fear Luke getting around Bergen through turn 4. Through Sector 1 they go. Remember, no mistakes can be made here. That's going to be the end of a very exciting Grand Prix for you, as I believe the Williams have put in behind May have accidentally taken the curb on the outside too much, had bottomed out and has lost positions there. Patterson, in that sentence, has picked up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings and now is probably going to be dropping severely down the order, as with the safety car freshly in, at the moment, he's not looking too good if he can't get away well. Marsbar under pressure from Fear Luke as Maple Ace looking to get around Patterson quickly here. He'll have to do just that, because the more time he spends behind the Mercedes, the less time he has trying to overtake Cheb for the win of the race. Ronnie and Greg side by side now. They have actually gone... Oh, was that contact from behind? From Jag Greg, it very well could have been. I think Puddin had gone off there through 22. Let's see if Greg, round the outside. Reimer in pursuit as well. I think Greg nearly got put into the wall. Reimer down to the inside. He's got the Alfa Romeo ahead. Ronnie loses traction coming off the corner. Well, as a matter of fact, somehow he stayed the same. Maple Ace down to the inside on Patterson. This is for second place, and Maple Ace gets it. And now, Maple Ace, I would think, is in a very good position here, as Stefan, 3 seconds of time penalty for multiple warning. Fear Luke getting around Marsbar, that being for the 4th spot, eventually the 3rd. Fear Luke up 4 positions, Marsbar up 8, Jag Greg up 10. Manny K, 3 seconds of time penalty, that's going to hurt them a lot. Fear Luke round the outside through turn 13. Patterson had gotten into the wall there on the inside. I think was there just the slightest hint of contact. He's now going to get overtaken by both Bergen and Manny K here, as we have a yellow flag, and I think it is Patterson who's off now. Yes, this is to the the outside of the circuit at this point, coming Alpha turn 14. Manny K getting past Bergen there, not even with the aid of DRS. We have less than a tenth of a second here between the top two, as Patterson's gone off at the back. What was looking to be a very good day for Patterson, unfortunately, looking to come to a close in a very negative fashion for him. The top 3 cars now looking to battle, 3 abreast into turn 27. This could be disaster, or it could be delicacy. Which one is it? Maple Ace takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Oh, and Fear Luke off to the inside, and he collects Cheb as well. Patterson is retired, DRS enabled here. Maple Ace with the top spot. Marsbar ends up 2nd, Bergen to 3rd, Manny K to 4th despite the penalty, and Reimer now to 5th. Aye, that could very well. Thoughts and prayers with the stewards once more, as we'll have 3 laps to go next time by. Jag Greg is retired. Stefan's probably going to follow in shortly, as well as Cheb, both on their way in. And now, the battle between Marsbar and Maple Ace. Oh, and Ronnie's gone off, and that is in the middle of everybody. That is coming off of 9 and 10, and that will mean the end of the day for an Alfa Romeo, which was having a promising Grand Prix. Stim's retired as well. Oh, and we are losing them left and right here. They're dropping like flies here in Jeddah. Reimer getting around Manny K there. That'll be for the 4th spot. It's half a second here between the top 2. Both of them even Stevens on tire compound, I think. Both 8-lap old medium tires. Fear Luke, 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Bergen doing well here. He could find the way to a good result. He's got his teammate of Reimer behind by about 1.5 seconds. This would probably mean Reimer, if he's able to get around his teammate, that would severely help him in the championship. Whether it stays that way or not is going to be the question. Manny K and Fear Luke both on 3-second penalties, although the AlphaTauri on the way into the pit lane now. 3.5 of a second here between the top 2. It's going to be an outright battle for the win here. 3 laps of racing to go. 0.2 of a second or less, and I think Maple Ace has really gotten away well there out of that complex and has now put a couple of tenths behind Marsbar. Meanwhile, Bergen not necessarily closing in on this battle, has to be said. He's doing well, but for the time being, remains a second and a half behind the top two, with his teammate of Reimer closing in behind. Marsbar, oh, I think he might be struggling here. Has to be said, he wasn't taking 9, 10, 11, and 12 very well, and he just made a hash of 15, 16, and 17. It's now outside of a second as Jeb retires on track. We started with 20, we're down to 12. Bergen here's made up a couple of tenths to Marsbar. Gonna have 2 laps of racing left. I believe we're gonna have DRS activated if we haven't had it already. Yep, there it is. 2 laps to go. Marsbar, as there's Reimer getting down the inside of his teammate of Bergen. Marsbar within 0.6 of a second here. Trying to do his best, but again, he's been struggling with that car. Bergen putting together some good pace, up 8 positions in the good direction. That's going to be very helpful for him. Patterson, unfortunately, leaves the session. Marsbar's teammate of Puddin's had a good result as well for the time being, up 11 positions. DWCJ, who's down 1, may have him look here at Idle North here very shortly. Idle North, who's had a quiet day, but is up 8 positions, just trying to stay out of trouble as much as he can. That is a good result for him if he can keep it. I think he may be losing the spot here to DWCJ, both drivers having a slight bit of oversteer there. Reimer now inside of a second on Marsbar. Marsbar doing his best, trying to hunt down Maple Ace, I would think. Reimer's soft tires probably the best out of the top 3 here. No DRS, however. Marsbar closing in on Maple Ace. As they exit turn 27 for the penultimate time, we are now on the way to the final lap of the Grand Prix in what's been a very entertaining Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Here's Marsbar, round the right side. Maple Ace, I don't think, has anything for him, and Marsbar takes the lead on the way into the first corner. Marsbar has a lot of work to do now. Maple Ace has a lot of work to do now, while Marsbar as well, in fairness, as he won't have DRS. Maple Ace, as much as I think he wants to play aggressive, he's going to have to be careful as Reimer behind, who unfortunately did not get DRS, is lurking, waiting for any mistake to be made here. It's less than half a second between the top 2. Very close proceedings here. Fear Luke, fastest lap of the Grand Prix. That's going to pretty much solve that extra point there. 0.3 of a second. Not necessarily closing, but not getting farther apart either. They have 2, well, realistically 3 more DRS zones to come here. This first one exiting turn 17 here very shortly. Marsbar has gotten a better exit of that complex than Maple Ace. DRS will be activated, but is it going to be enough for the Aston Martin? It's all going to come down to turn 22 here. Maple Ace has closed in a lot. Marsbar, well, I think he may have had a little bit of a slide there. Maple Ace is going to have a chance. DRS activated here. Marsbar is going to defend the inside. Maple Ace round the outside. And now, it all looks like Maple Ace could have it here as they go down into turn 27 for the final time, in similar fashion to how Reimer lost the win last time we visited Saudi Arabia. It looks as if Maple Ace is going to come home to win here, and Marsbar was at less than 1/10 of a second when they crossed the line. Marsbar finishing second by the very thinnest of margins. It is Maple Ace taking the win. Marsbar, very good effort from him. Pair of Ferraris 3rd and 4th, Manny K 5th, DWCJ 6th, Idle North 7th, Puddin in 8th, up 11 positions for him. Wow. What a great finish that was. Maple Ace taking his first win of the season. Aston Martin yet again. They weren't necessarily off to the hottest of starts this season, but that is a very good result. Maple Ace finishes off, or tops last week's P4 with a win here in Saudi Arabia. Oh my god, he's levitating. Well, after it's all said and done here in Saudi Arabia, Maple Ace takes the win over Mars Bar by less than a tenth of a second. Reimer third, Bergen fourth. Good result from the Ferrari team. Manny K fifth after that. DWCJ sixth. Idle North seventh. Put in eighth after starting 19th on the grid. Peak Hour ninth. 10th is Zench. 11th is Fear Luke. 12th is Stefan. Unfortunately for Cheb, and all the way back, they will not get the opportunity to finish today's Grand Prix. Well, if you thought that was entertaining, next week we go to the patience testing, high speed, high degradation Shanghai circuit in China for round 4 of the season. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure once more joining me here in the JAG Sunday series. Then we'll see you next week when we head to China for another edition of... I don't know how to English my way out of these situations. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.